you say, high school's not for me. And then sometime within a decade period, you accumulate $50,000 in debt while simultaneously accumulating $100,000 a year. Can you kind of speak to just some of the decision making that was happening just kind of like during that time period? Because I ask this because oftentimes the decisions that we're making at that chapter of life, we pay the consequences of some of those decisions, whether it's positive, never or negative later on in life. But some of those decisions that were probably foundational for some of the decisions you're making today, I'm assuming there's some lessons that showed up from those decisions. So I'm curious on number one, what were some of those decisions? And then number two, what were either the negative or positive or lessons or consequences that came later on in life down the road, specifically around deciding to leave school and deciding, how you got this six-figure opportunity and how you accumulated $50,000 in debt, just some of those decisions that led, toward, through that path.
Yeah, man. So I didn't decide to leave school. I just didn't care enough to ever like put any effort in, right? So when I've posted my report card on social before, like I graduated high school because they literally gave me the diploma. I remember, so the irony is my senior year, my business teacher fails me, right? Irony of all ironies. And I go up to their classroom. My girlfriend calls me. I'm at home. I'm stoned. I'm playing video games. And she's like, oh, by the way, you're not graduating high school. And I was like, oh, what? Right. And Mike, I'll be honest with you. I knew why. I never went. I never did anything. I had straight D's and F's. And I go to Mr. Bush, Northwest High School, second floor, corner of the building. And I walk up to him, end of a period. And I go, how dare you fail me? And he says, I didn't fail you. You failed yourself. And he followed that by literally to this day, the most important thing anyone has ever told me in my life. He says, if you want to get by in life, you have to earn it. You can't just get off on your charms and your good looks. And I had to go to summer school, man. And that was incredibly embarrassing. My girlfriend was embarrassed of me. My family was embarrassed of me. I was embarrassed of me. And I'm in summer school, and the teacher comes up to me. We're like 3 weeks in. I had just gotten fired from this warehouse job, putting microchips into motherboards all day long. It was like anyone could do it, but I'm sitting here watching the despair and desperation in people's eyes because, dude, that assembly line was going to be the best it would ever be for some of those people, right? And I get fired from this job where all you had to do was show up. And I'm sitting here in this classroom. I just got fired. My life is in chaos. My grandmother's in a coma. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. And he comes up to me, the teacher comes up to me. He's like, dude, we're done with you. We're giving you a diploma. Get out. Because I'm just making trouble and I'm flirting with girls and I'm super high walking into class. And so now I'm sitting in my car after this moment and I'm thinking to myself, okay, hold on. What is really happening here? Like, what's really going on? And I started thinking about it. Like, what is the solution for poverty, for homelessness, for abuse? What is the solution for all these just horrendous things I've suffered for 18 years? And Mike, I was like, it's money. Right? Like, what else would it be? That's the one thing our family is always talking about. That's the one thing we never have. That's the one thing when the phone rings and the collectors are on the line and they're putting the eviction notices on the door and the cars get repoed out of the front yard and we're stealing food to survive and the water's turned off. It's money, right? And so I said, I'm going to make $100,000 a year legally. Now, look, man, the legal part is very important in this because I'm being serious because I had spent a lot of times making money illegally and I was really good at it. And we were stealing cars and breaking into houses and selling drugs. And, I have family to this day in prison for life, right? My uncle's been in prison over 40 years, dude. Right? I've been in handcuffs more times than I can count. And my 3 childhood best friends have been murdered. I knew what was going to happen if I didn't change this, right? And so that legal thing gave me clarity. So this is decision number 1. I'm answering your question, but I wanted to create massive context for this. clarity is the most important thing that we can have in a decision-making process. Now, having clarity also means that you have the full scope of clarity. For me at 18 years old, my clarity was 100 grand a year legally. And so I just started working, and I landed a job at 18 and a half with a fast food joint. I got 52 people under me in a leadership role doing $1 million a year in cheeseburgers and fries, dude. Like, it was crazy. And of course, at 18, I made every leadership mistake you could ever possibly imagine. But it's still not getting me to the goal, right? I was making like 35 grand or something. And I just started applying for job after job after job after job. And for a year and a half, 18 months, I got told no hundreds of times until somebody told me yes. And I landed a job with one of the biggest insurance companies in the entire country, one that probably everybody who's listening to this has heard of. I came in as an assistant in a sales department. That turned into having a full-time sales gig. And around my 21st birthday, I cashed my first check for $10,000, right? And that led me down this path, because what started to happen is I was like, oh, I'm good at sales. I can give people the thing that they need to protect them and change their life. And so, I'm writing $5 to $7 million a year in insurance policy. I got this big book of business. I'm making all this money. Next thing you know, you fast forward to 26. Here I am. I've made $1 million almost, Mike. And I'm 50 grand in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, right? Because of the decisions I was making. I lived above a bar where I had like a $2,000 a month tab always, right? Went out to restaurants constantly, closet full of clothes, $85,000 car, terrible smoking habit. You know how much 2 packs a day costs? It's crazy. I was eating McDonald's 20 times a week, not to mention all the other fast food, right? I had a massive collection of nonsense in my home, just burning through money, because I thought that it would make me feel good about who I was. And then I realized it doesn't. And that was the journey, man. Just going like, wait a second, that money doesn't matter. And that's one of the things that's helped me be successful now, running multiple companies, having my production company, Pods of Purpose, having Think Unbroken, where we coach people, having my retail company, is that I stopped making it about money and I started making it about service and value for people. And I'll tell you this, the decisions that I make now are around the clarity of what I look at 10 years and 20 years down the road. I think so many people think so short-sighted, which is reasonable, because like for me, growing up in trauma, we never knew when we were going to have money again. And so I was like, I'm just going to spend it now, right? I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm going to buy whatever I want. And it's not that I don't do that still, but it's different. Because now I look at my life and the investments that I make are in personal development, are in coaching, are in my own businesses. I've made tremendous investments to put together big events, tremendous investments in my own personal healing and growth, right? And I think that's the difference, because at 26 years old, after this rock bottom moment, one day I'm sitting there, I'm looking down at my shoes, Mike, and I realized, man, these Jordans that I have on right now that were $300 cost more money than I've ever invested in myself. And I realized, I was like, man, you love these shoes more than you love you. And that became a turning point for me. And then it became like a Brendan Burchard course. And then it became a Tony Robbins course. And then it became this and this and this and this. And the list just spirals and go down, because the clarity and decision-making I have now is about the life that I want to have in the future, not the life that I want to have right now in this moment, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.